To the discussions in a while. Now I request Professor Bimlendra Kumar, former head Department of Pali and Buddhist Studies, Faculty of Arts, Banaras Hindu University, to kindly make some remarks and comments in about 15 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, and respected Shri Vedveer Arya ji, Dr. Arvind Gupta ji, as well as Dr. Anutma Ganguly, and all the participants who have joined this BIF. This is the second time that I am joining the discussion with Shri Vedveer Arya ji. And on the very same topic, we have also shared some of the views related with the date of Buddha's nirvāṇa. But today, what our Shri Vedveer Arya ji has discussed in a very detailed manner, based upon all the chronological history of ancient India, as well as the sources, what he has given through the Sri Lankan, Burmese, and other sources. But what we go through the Buddhist text, then we find that there are so many controversies which have been discussed here. And the Vedveer Arya ji, what he has discussed today, it is most debatable as well as not plausible by all the scholars of India as well as Western scholars. But these discussions, what he has presented today, it gives us curiosity as well as inquisitiveness to know about our ancient past, as well as to know the sources, how the chronology can be made in new manner. So what he has discussed is very discussed, and we have to see, he has also realized that he is not going to take sources from the one Buddhist sources. Otherwise, it will be create more problem in deciding the chronology of all the kings as well as the ancient masters also. We have to see the inscriptions, what he has given the base of his talk, and we have to see that how this early Buddhist councils, the rise of the Buddhist sects at the time of the Third Buddhist Council, there were 18 sects. So how these sects were also developed, we have to see the sectarian development of that. We are very much conscious and aware of also that in 1988 there was a golden conference in Europe related with the date of the Buddha, and much of debate were discussed, and nothing was decided in that conference also. And the conference which was held in Göttingen in 1988, there were 4 sources through which the scholars discussed the dating of the Buddha. That is the long chronology, the corrector to long chronology, short chronology, and the dotted record. Related with the long chronology and our dotted record, Shri Vedveer Arya ji has discussed some of the things. But related with the Indian chronology, we have to see that how our the Bikram Sambat, the 58 BC has been decided, and through this we also do not consider the Sri Lankan chronology. Even the Sri Lankan sources, Dipans and Mahavans, they are regarded as the prime sources for our Sri Lankan sources. But even Indian government does not consider this Sri Lankan sources for the chronology of our Buddhist era in India also. they are considering 544, but here in India, we are considering 563, the date of the Buddha birth, as well as 483, the nirvāṇa date of the Buddha. So this makes controversies related with this. So the traditional long chronology, which are based upon the Deepavansha, Mahavansha, the commentary of the Vinay Pitak, that is the Mahāparinibbāna Katha, as well as the one text Parivar, which was composed in Sri Lanka. So there are 4 texts which are deciding the 544 or 543 BC related with the our date of the Parinirvana of the Buddha. Further, this is the Buddhist Sasana era. From that era, the Buddhist Sasana also starts, which is used by all Theravāda communities in Southeast Asian countries. So there is another uncorrected long chronology, which is not accepted by our all scholars of Buddhist studies. The reason for this that this chronology of the Parinirvana of the Buddha, they places 100 years before the consecration of the King Asoka. That gives very difficulty in acceptance of the Western scholars. That how 218 years can be taken in consideration for the Parinirvana of the Buddha, after the Parinirvana of the Buddha on date of the Buddha. So this coronation of the Asoka, King Asoka, becomes 326 BC. So it gives problems related with. There are 2 scholars who discuss at length in Göttingen conference. They are the Richard F. Gombrich as well as Heinrich Wichert. They have discussed at length in a very detailed manner. And related with Richard F. Gombrich, he has given the date of the Parinirvana of the Buddha 404 BC. And this is based upon our short chronology, that is based upon the basically on the Sanskrit Buddhist text available in our Chinese as well as Tibetan or other Sanskrit sources. So this makes a problematic issue in deciding the date of the Nirvāna of the Buddha. Further, the Richard F. Gombrich related with the 13th year of the coronation of the King Asoka, there is a 13th rock edition, which he decides that there is a 16 years back what our Shri Vedveer Arya ji was also discussing, that there is a 60-year gap. So Richard F. Gombrich also does not give any reference to that. So this is the reference given by our Vedveer Arya as well as Richard F. Gombrich also. Again, if you go through the Chinese sources, then the Chinese sources are mainly based upon the sources of the Vinay-dhar. That Vinay-dhar, the Acharyas, after the Parinibbāna of the Buddha, the Upali became the Vinay Pamukha, the chief of the Vinay. And there is a tradition of succession of the Vinay Pamukha till Mogliputta Thera in the Third Buddhist Council. So on the basis of that, it has been discussed. And so some scholars are claiming that the claim of this Richard F. Gombrich, the date of the Parinirvana of the Buddha 404 BC, becomes very much correct. And this calculation has been also taken care by other scholars like PHL Egermont and other. There is another sources which Vedveer Arya was also discussing, dotted record. And related with the daughter record, it is said that Upali, who became the Binay Pamukha, he put one daughter on the whatever he got the Binay. Time of the when he became the Binay Pamukha, and on each Pavarna, the another dot was given. So there are altogether 975 dots in that. But scholars are also not claiming this daughter record as a worthiness because at the time of the Upali, that is the 6th century BC, there was no any record, written document on which the dot was given by Upali. Whatever we are getting the documents, they are in the oral traditions. Till the third Buddhist council, that is the Mogliputta Thera, and Mahinda, who undertook the teachings of the Buddha to Sri Lanka in the oral traditions, that is the Mukha Part Vasena. So there is no question of putting record on each Pavarana. So this hypothesis has been also rejected by scholars. So this is the reason. But what our Vedveer Arya ji was claiming that Buddhist Nirvāṇa 483 on the basis of the Mahavansa as well as Chinese dotted record, it also comes 486 BC. Or if we remove the 3 dotted record of our Pavarna, then it becomes 483. So this is the our we cannot claim the short chronology, that is the 100 years. And there are some of the scholars like Richard F. Gomrich and L. Scoggins. They are saying that the first Buddhist council, which was held at Rajgir, it is a legendary to prove the worthiness of the second Buddhist council. And even in the deeper ones, we are having some of the discrepancies related with the acharyas like Mogliputta Thera. And related with the Mogliputta Thera, sometimes for 80. Somewhere it is said that he lived for 86 years. So in the verses, what we are getting in the deep ones, as well as in Mahavansa, there are some of the discrepancies. Scholars are also saying that these are the interpolations later on. And it is also said that there was no historical personality named as Mogliputta Thera. To prove the worthiness of King Asoka, there was a personality which was created by the scholars or acharyas like Mogliputta Thera. And even it is claimed by the scholars that this our Bahir Katha, which is the first chapter of our Milinda Pahyo, it was also added later on. And this Milinda Pahyo was this Bahir Katha, the Acharya Nagasen and King Milinda, this Mahāparinibbāna Katha which discusses it, and it was inserted by Acharya Buddha. The life history of Acharya Nagasen as well as King Milinda, they were interpolated. So some of the things which we are getting in our sources, they are also creating some of the problems in deciding our chronology of the Buddhist history. So there is 100 years in the short chronology and 218 years the long chronology. So these are making a problem in our deciding the problems. So whatever we say that even there are some of the verses in the deep ones, they are also not claiming the historical personality of Mogliputta Thera, as well as other in Milinda Payum, whatever we have discussed. So this now recent times the short chronology has gained supporters like Richard F. Gomrich and even J. Akira Hirakawa of Japan and J. Takasukasu. They are claiming that this short chronology is more authentic than the long uncorrected chronology. So scholars like E.J. Thomas and G.C. Mendes and H. Kern, they are also claiming this short chronology, that is the 100 years, what our Shri Vedveer Arya ji was also saying this. But according to Henry Richard, he says that the date of the Buddha is from 448 to 368 BC. And this gives a insightful our review in our other scholars like L.S. Coggins. And he gives the references from the deep ones also. And this is a short chronology, what the scholars are giving. They are also claiming the sources of China, our Sri Lankan scholar, because some of the references what they are getting in the deep ones, they are also giving authenticity to our short chronology. So this is but there are other Sanskrit texts like Asoka Avadana, and scholars like Lancaster, they have also given the date of the Buddha in a different manner, and they are giving from 265 to 317 BC. So these are some of the scholars they are giving here, but the primary sources of our Richard F. Comrade based upon the Parivar, Samantasadika, the commentary of the Vinay, as well as the Deepavans and Vahavans, they are more authentic than the long chronology. So even the Buddhist scholars generally, we are claiming the claim of Richard F. Gomrich, H. Karn, as well as Hirakawa, and J. Takakasu is more clear. But the thing is that how we can claim the other sources, and we cannot concentrate only the Sri Lankan chronology as Sri Lankan sources. We have to take considerations of the Sanskrit sources also. And then we can make a new chronology. But the thing is that what we are claiming nowadays, they are mainly based upon we are making chronology based upon the Bikram Sambat, and then we are deciding all the history of India, ancient India, and other things. So we have to take decision that what we have to take decisions of related with the date of Buddha also, because the whole chronology will be discussed. The chronology which has been put by our Vedveer Arya ji, that is 1300 years before of this date of the Buddha. So we have to think over it, that how it can be solved and how it can be dealt. Make a conclusive decision that what we can do. So there are some of the things, but there are some of the scholars who are thinking that if you see the Vinay Dhara, that is the Vinay Pamukha, from the time of the Upali, after the Parinibbāna of the Buddha, till the Mogliputta Tissathera, if you are having the chronology and the date of all the Vinay Dharas or Vinay Pamukhas, then we can make a consideration of the chronology of all the first Buddhist council, second Buddhist council, and third Buddhist council. And then we can also make a chronological order of other Buddhist chronology. We have to think about it, that what we have to do. So like there are some of the sources available in Sanskrit Buddhist texts like Sari Putra Paripriksha Sutra, as well as Nikaya Ved Vibhang Vyakhyan and Asoka Odan. There are other Sanskrit texts also. They are also talking about the chronology of the date of the Buddha's nirvāṇa. So we have to make considerations of Asoka Odan also, Sariputra Paripriksha also, that how these Sanskrit texts are telling about it. as Vedveer Arya ji was also talking about the two suttas, Shantim Suttas and Surya Sutta of Sanjukta Nikaya. But the exact chronology, what in the suttas has been discussed, it has not been made it clear. If you see the last journey of the Buddha from the Patliputra to Kushinagar, then we find there are so many, and the scholars on the basis of the chronology, they have done that how Buddha reaches to Kusinara or Kusinagar from the Patliputra to Nalanda, Nalanda to our Kusinagar, and how he takes the last meal at the Chund, Kumar Put. And this chronology also makes very clumsy, and we are not able to make decisions that how from the Patliputra or Nalanda to Kusinagar, Buddha reaches, and how he was so sick and he reaches the Kusinagar. How a person who is a dysentery, blood dysentery, and how he reaches to that place also, that also becomes very problematic in deciding our chronology of the things. So we have to see that we have to make it clear that what sources we have to take it, whether we have to accept the 1988 Göttingen Conference resolutions, which have been published in the 3 volumes of the proceedings of the papers, research papers, which were presented based upon the long chronology, uncorrected chronology, short chronology, and the dotted record. So whether we are going to accept all these or not, whether we have to accept this Bikram Sambat or the Sri Lankan sources, because Indian government is also not accepting the Sri Lankan era, although it is more famous in our Southeast Asian countries, but the Indian government is not. Recently, United Nations organization has also declared April 8th as an International Buddhist Day. What our Shri Vedveer Arya was talking about this push, that is the 4th month of the year, that comes April 8. So April 8 has been declared as an International Buddhist Day, and it has been celebrated by Japan as well as Cambodia has also
Can I request you
declared
to
as
kindly
an International
wind up?
Buddhist Day. So yes, sir.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. These are some of the observations that we have to make, that why you cannot consult all the Pali as well as Sanskrit sources for making a new chronology of Buddhism. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.